Okay, I'm just gonna review the second set piece play I want to go through today for rugby, kind of coming out of a scrum, line out. Could also be out of a ruck. This is just your basic blocker play. Our high school team calls it Ghost. Men's team calls it Ireland. But really, it's just a basic 12-13 blocker play. Pretty simple stuff. So, just once again, kind of pre pre the ball coming out of the scrum or the ruck. What we want to see happen is just a different alignment than the traditional alignment that you see with the back line, where it would just be regular steep setup. We're going to kind of make an adjustment here to dropping the 12 actually slightly behind the 13 is ideal. Just because the lines that they're actually going to run are 13 is going to take about 5 to 7 steps up, and then they're going to hit a hard line, hopefully between what's then going to be the 10 and the 12. Okay, and then we're going to see the 13 doing the opposite, or the 12 doing the opposite, where they're going to take a hard line here, run about 3 to 5 steps, and then a drift line, and you're going to see how that plays out. Ideally, then you're going to eventually have, with the 10 coming up here, you're going to have two passing lanes for the 10 to make a pass here or a pass here, and you're going to see that as I kind of go through this. So those are your basic lines for this ghost blocker play, but let's kind of go through that in a little more detail. So here you go. So kind of first set, we set up in this kind of preset here. The ball moves, of course, from the 9 to the 10, in this case out of scrum. You can see the defensive line coming up there, okay? And 13 and 12 continue to hold a straight line for this kind of first part of the run. So they want to kind of hold their defender first, and so they're kind of going to hold that straight line to start with. Okay, from there, what we're going to see happen is they're going to kind of start running that kind of blocker line there. The 13, like I said, is going to come up, try and kind of shoot for that gap between the 10 and the 12. It's just an unnatural place for the 13 to defend, and so he's going to have to communicate something to the 12 for that to happen. And then we get the opposite happening with the 12, where we get that kind of up, and then we start running that drift line there here. And of course, the 10 is progressing towards their 10 as well. So the next thing from there, as we progress through, the 10 kind of comes up to attack, and then what we can see here is an option if that 13 decides to follow the 13 in. And so if you see this guy coming in and trying to take that 13, the 10 here needs to make the read that the pass that needs to be on is the pass in behind here, and you can see that with the next progression here. As that 13 bites in here, it should open up the 12 on the outside, and then of course eventually then we get that kind of 2-on-1 scenario here with that winger having to make a choice between, do I come in, do I not? Of course there could be 15 help coming over here eventually, but once we break that line, good things are going to happen. So just going back to that set again, so that's what happens, that basic pass, that first option from the 10, as the 13 dives in and the 12 runs the drift line, we get that pass on the outside. Okay. The second option off this basic ghost or blocker play is going to be, this time, as the 10's attacking the line, okay, this time around, if that 13 hangs out, okay, and for some reason that 12 doesn't want anything to do with the 13, what you're going to see happen is this here, where there's a gap exposed between that 10 and the 12, a nice really flat pass happening here from the 10 to the 13, and then hopefully the 13 is able to kind of get through that line there. And hopefully we get to score, or maybe the 15 comes and then you pass back to the 10 here as the 10 comes through as well. So lots of options there once we get through that second level of defense. But ideally, you basically have two gaps we're trying to hit with this play. We're either trying to hit here, okay, if that's on, or the outside kind of gap here if the 13 bites in. Okay, basic blocker play, and that's how it works. Just reviewing that. 1, 10 attacks the line. As they attack the line, if the 13 bites in, we go to the outside. If the 12 doesn't kind of take the 13, doesn't take that 13 coming in, well then we can see we can get the ball moving through that gap there. So we have two basic options with this ghost play or blocker play that are going to get us through there. And once again, that really comes down to, at this stage right here, the 10 needs to make the read. Well, 10's reading really the 12 and the 13 here, them both, and where are they taking? We're really trying to create confusion between these two because it's more than just a simple switch when that 13's diving into this hole here. Okay, and that's basically it. Your basic kind of rugby backs blocker play through the 12 and 13.